Hey YouTube, how you guys doing? My name is Kyle, you know me as Dragonmar, and welcome to a new video. Today guys, we have a Gold 2 Cypher VOD. In this video, we're going to be talking also about how to impact and sort of help control games as a Sentinel, which in my opinion, and which I found a lot of you guys asking, is probably one of the hardest roles to really impact games on, especially on attack, which is where we're starting here. If you guys enjoy these videos, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more. Let me know what type of VOD you want me to see reviewing next. And if you do enjoy, hey, check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Dragonmar. But with that being said, we are live here into the first round of this VOD, Gold 2. In Cypher. So first and foremost, we're on a pistol round. We are seeing one trip placed. My only qualm with that, right, is that we had teammates still back there, so kind of didn't help until this point. I wish the team would have just come forward if the plan was to go to A. That might not have been his fault, of course. We are hearing comms from him right now as well, which is good. I will turn these down slightly just so I don't lose focus of what I'm thinking of. And there goes looks like the reposition on the trip. That looks pretty good. That will definitely help with any sort of aggression from the A players now if they choose to come through here. Of course, though, they have full mid control as well, so they don't have to. One thing I will say, though, is we're going to notice the camera placement, right? Camera was left back there, then coming here around this corner through window, and we're going to lose that fight. We got to be careful with that. With how we peek out of window, because there's so many spots there. You know, you've got to worry about the B players, you got to worry about CT, and potentially someone coming back around that corner from C site as well. But what I was saying about the camera is we left the camera in sewer. We should have taken that with us for sure. All right, so talking about having impact on Sentinels and how you can contribute throughout the game, not just on defense. This right here is a really good example. Now, obviously, that cage was pretty poor, but one thing that Cypher can do in particular is use his cages like smokes to at least apply pressure on the map and block line of sight, which is actually super unique. You don't see Killjoys doing that, right? You can't just put a turret down and block vision, but with Cypher, you can with the cages. So that early cage into this A main area is very, very smart, and that will keep people honest, which is what we're looking for. We want to hold off the rotates, and we want to attack sites with the least amount of players, and you can do that by applying early pressure with your cages to block off vision so the other team doesn't have a good idea of what's going on. But wow, as I say that, a double headshot coming in from the Sage. Of course, Nacho was able to pick up that one kill on the Phoenix, but we will go down there to the Sage. Not too much to say about that, except for that was probably a pretty nice shot by them. Okay, moving into the third round here. I'm assuming the team elected to save, but I am seeing rifles, and we are on a sheriff. So I'm not quite sure what's happening here. We will double trip. The first trip is going to go down in that little doorway to alt mid. The second one over on the box. I'm not sure if a double trip is needed to hold flank here. That's like, because right now, look at this. If they decide not to go to C, what's going to happen here is you've left the A main and the A lobby push open. That's really dangerous, right? So that's what concerns me about these trips. Because right now, this Phoenix, for example, someone could definitely be in window. Someone could be pushed up. There they are. Phoenix is able to get the kill, though. So I'm not sure if it's needed a double trip. It's essentially what I'm getting at here. I would have maybe placed that trip in window or covering the A lobby push from the A players. But let's see what's going to happen here. One thing we haven't seen too much use out of, or at least gaining too much from it, is the camera right now. So with 10 seconds on the cam, let's see what's going to happen. I also would say, you know, not 100% necessary, but when you are playing a Sentinel, it is, you know, generally good to grab the spike if possible. But looking here, camera is placed in a good spot. So his teammates should be playing off the camera, right? There's no reason to peek. And as we see, people are going down one by one. And as that happens, of course, Reyna is going to throw a leer, which unfortunately, because of the timing with the camera and everything, just unable to make the play on. That was the team there kind of fell apart. Needed to just play off of the info from the camera. Everyone was peeking and dying. Now, another thing I want to talk about here when it comes to how you can help your team on attack as a Sentinel, obviously it's holding flanks, which is what you're seeing here. Now, Cypher has it super easy because Cypher can throw trips. Killjoy can use her turret or an alarm bot, but she has to stay in range, which makes it a little more difficult. That is super, super useful. If you guys are playing Sentinels and you're like, I'm not helping my team, I don't know what to do on attack because you don't have flashes, you know, you don't have movement abilities. Well, you could definitely hold flanks with your abilities and then use your body as help, you know, wherever the push is going to be. I think that is going to be the suggestion you hear from most players, is that, you know, use that utility to hold the flank and then go up and help your team, right? And Cypher definitely excels there, right? These trips, super easy. Now, of course, right now we are going to be worried about this window push, right? Because there is no one holding you know, the A push, but it doesn't even matter in the end. Actually, the Omen is just going to pick up 3 there regardless, but it is still very important that we, you know, I'm a little bit concerned right now because this is a few rounds in a row we haven't seen anything holding up an A main push, so hopefully that won't bite them later on. All right, so coming back in, Nacho actually says his ultimate is trash, which is an interesting take. Out of all of these Sentinels, I will say I do think that, you know, if you're going to count Sage as a Sentinel, obviously her ult would probably be the best. Killjoy, but when you know, you really compare like a Killjoy or a Cypher, I do think Killjoy definitely edges out Cypher. Killjoy's ult is very, very good. Cypher tends to struggle to find times to use his ult, which is kind of unfortunate. Generally, even in pro play, you see it used in like advantage, like 4v2 situations where they just want to figure out where the remaining players are to end out a round, which is unfortunate that the ult has to be used that way. Honestly, in the future, I wouldn't be surprised to see some changes to a Cypher ult just to make it a little bit more usable. But with that in mind here, we do open it up with the first kill. I will say these cages have been pretty bad. You know, obviously, no offense, Nacho, but it is an easy cage to hit. So I would just make sure you're taking your time on those because there's no reason to miss them. To miss them. You can, if you need to, you know, wait an extra second just to get the perfect lineup, or go into a custom and get a lineup for it because you don't want to leave a crack because that defeats the whole purpose of the cage, right? Now, obviously, in that situation, you pushed the cage, so maybe the guy was actually looking at that crack. If so, that's a 200 IQ play. But let's see here, 5v4 B site plant, which is really tough. We have Cam and ult. Yeah, I think an ult here is fine, right? Exactly what I was just talking about. 4v2 ults in pro play. Boom. We see it in gold as well. Sage's back site. As the team pushes in, I probably would have moved here a little bit too passive for my liking here from Nacho. But hey, teammates able to get the job done. You just want to pinch on those and get the easy trade if there is a death. All right, let's jump into round 6 here. Again, back on how to contribute as a Sentinel. So I think another thing people need to just kind of keep in mind is that with the Sentinels, you know, you're not playing off of flashes, so your kind of job is to sit there and help your teammates get in whatever way possible, whether that be putting down turrets, throwing your mollies on Killjoy, or in Cypher's case, using a camera maybe or a cage to get some deep info into sites as well. Don't just let your duelists do all the work, or maybe more of the controllers, you know, throw their smokes or something. I think it's really important for Sentinels to be more active in site takes, because often I find when we're losing on attack, a lot of times my Sentinels are just playing too passive and they're not actually helping at all, and they're not necessarily baiting, but that is kind of what the end result looks like, right? And that's not a good thing. All right, here, a little worrying, but Omen able to get 2, which is bad, but nonetheless, they do win the round with 3 alive. All right, so we're moving into round 7 here. Past few, I think we've kind of seen Nacho stray away from the teammates a little bit, which isn't of course, it's not the end of the world. Ooh, there's the peek again. Okay. Now, Nacho is peeking this, but he's not shooting, which is kind of cute. Well, that wasn't a good camera, which is kind of curious to me. I would like to see him try to at least take a fight if he's going to peek, since he's kind of leaving himself open to dying there, right? I mean, if you're going to swing something, you should really be swinging with the intention of getting a kill, unless you're going for info. And if you're just going for info, why not just use a camera, or why not just jump peek or something? Why just swing out wide like that? Because I don't know if you guys noticed, but he did actually kind of go a little wide there. If that was an op, 100% dead. 100%. Nonetheless, though, this is a 4v4 after the res. We have info that Sage was playing B. The problem, though, is Sage also has a res, so she could bring us back into a 5v4. I don't like this. I don't like the Sage running in alone right now without any other utility. She just kind of walled and then slowed and ran in on her own. That could have gone horribly, losing a spike there. Holding flank, we have Trip, so I'm not too concerned about the flank. Obviously, Omen can TP past Trips, just so everybody knows, which is surprising that some people don't know that. I don't even use it enough, honestly. I wish I did that stuff more. But wow, you can catch the people off guard TPing past their Trips. Nonetheless, though, 3v3 here. At least 2 players spotted. We know 1 is there still, at least the Reyna. Reyna push through, so we know Sage is on Spike. And the aim. I'm going to rewind this. I just want to see what happens here with Nacho's aim. So he's aiming for the Spike. Oh, okay. What happens here is that Nacho is aiming for the Spike diffuser, but the Reyna appears on his screen and he never resets his recoil. And because he never reset his recoil, he kept trying to like tap and like get that first shot accuracy, and it was never there, and he couldn't hit the shots. Okay, round 8 starting here. We're going for this A main trip. I like this one. Like I was saying, I think these trips here are the most common. You've got the trip over on the box by C long, and you've got the A lobby trip here right on this kind of like the second level of these like little planters or whatever these ledges are here to our right, which is super hard to get past. No one can jump that, and nobody can go underneath, which is still something people are getting wrong even at high levels. I do not understand what some of these trips are that people are putting. It absolutely blows my mind. But nonetheless, this is kind of like a solo lurk here. Reminds me of Steel's play from 100 Thieves. But can we replicate Steel's play in Gold 2? Let's see here. Okay, so now we're spotted and we're tagged. We've got to be careful of Sewer here. Someone could have lurked up Sewer at this point, but it doesn't look like Nacho is going to be worried about that. All right, swinging wide into sight here, going across, looking underneath into hell, not seeing anything. Should probably clear close right, and he does, and there's the trip as well, which is great. Has cages available. I'd like to see a cage somewhere. Okay, I don't hate this. That actually ended up being a pretty decent cage for what happened. And another cage as well, which is smart. This way, yep, he's going to pop it. So this way, if they try to push through, he'll definitely know. So no one can just kind of swing out at him. Now, I will say the spot that Nacho's in right now is a tough spot to be in. Looks like Omen is holding a counter flash or just a flash in general if someone peeks out wide. So there it is. So he's just going to swing off of Nacho's fight. The only problem is Nacho definitely could have died there. But does end up killing the Omen, and even better, gets a very nice shot onto the Reyna, who then even congratulates him on that in chat. So you'll love to see it. And I think overall that was pretty good. A little worried that there was no pressure towards Sewer though, right? We saw the A long push from Nacho, but Sewer was open. Someone could have lurked up, and that could have completely ended that round. Now the whole team lined up over here on C. Looks like there is a Marshaller on top of Plat. There's the kill, but you will get a Molly down. I'd love if he could camera somewhere right now. I'd love if he camera top left to see if he can see someone maybe on logs. Looks like he will cam here, which is fine. Oh, they are going to destroy it right away. Yeah, and I think that this is kind of what you would expect. You know, you need your duelist to just go in a little bit quicker, I think, in this round. Omen spotted back left Plat. I don't think Nacho realizes. Yeah, I don't know if he realized. Okay, he does. He actually made a comment. I was just wondering why he was standing out wide like that. And now we're in a horrible situation. I think this was caused by just a lack of pressure after, or maybe just a lack of decisiveness, right? Where the team just kind of stood inside of this hallway and they didn't really know where to go. Yeah. And unfortunately, being one shot there, just not much you're going to be able to pull out of that situation. Okay, round 10 starting here. And again, getting back onto the topic of impact as Sentinels, one thing I want to talk about is that just because you're not getting kills doesn't mean you're not impacting rounds. So map control and having presence and denying vision is a huge part of this game, especially at the higher ranks. And oftentimes, your controllers and your Sentinels are going to be doing this without you even realizing it. And maybe they don't even realize it either. And it's not going to show up in any way on the scoreboard, right? So when you're watching this game and you're thinking about the trips, how many times has Nacho's team been flanked? They haven't, right? And you can thank the trips for that for the most part, right? They're denying any sort of pushes. And that's not going to show up on the scoreboard, but that is an essential part of having impact and helping your team win rounds. And it's just one of those things I think that some players fail to understand, is that just because you're not showing up on the scoreboard doesn't mean you're not helping the team. Now getting into this round, we're a bit late into it here. 40 seconds left in a 3v4. Moving into sight here with one cage. Okay, there's a deep cage. That should be a kill. Okay. 3-bullet reload, that's fine. Looks like that was from the Phoenix ult with the res as well. Oh, Odd man, I really think Nacho could have won that one. Maybe honestly even get a little bit spammy in that situation. Oh, when Sova goes out wide there and challenges a rifle. Yeah, unfortunate. Looked winnable there for a second. Good try nonetheless. And once again, in a familiar position, much like how in most of my rounds I start off on Omen, I'm in a smoke. Nacho, of course, putting down a trip. Or technically a trap wire. All right, so there's the push into sight, and Nacho is spraying mid, which isn't really helping. Looks like he is going to go for a late rotate, but once again, I think if you're going to pressure mid, get out. Just go, right? Like, you need to be pushing through B right now, or at least holding a little bit more of these rotates so that you're in a better spot to help your team. Because had that aggression not gone quite as well, you want to be in a position to actually do something, to make trades, make refrags, or just push up for your own aggression and try to even things out. And what Nacho did is okay, and it works out, right? Because the Sage ends up pushing super late, but that's really only because the take worked so well. So whenever I have a Sentinel, you know, kind of in mid chilling, I do want them to get a little aggressive and see if they can cut off rotates, right? That's the big one, cutting off rotates. Final round of the first half. Everything looking pretty good here. 7-4 scoreline. Haven is an attacker-sided map, so that is something I think we could expect. Ooh, Phoenix pushed. I need something here from Nacho. I need him to swing. I need him to help his teammate. That Phoenix was spotted long enough to give him info on the minimap, and the fight wasn't that short either, so he had time. I would have definitely liked to have seen something there because he was holding for the A push, which just hasn't happened all game, which to me says I can swing this safely without worrying about either an A main push or a window push. And instead, teammate dies for nothing, and now they are in a 2v5. I think really the only winning situation here is just they absolutely slaughter them, or Omen goes for a TP play into A, like gets a pick, and they kind of cut in here together and just sort of like split the site. But let's take a look here. Clearing.
I didn't clear sewer.
So he does calm that sewers are clear. I will say Nacho's comms have been pretty good, especially for gold. I know normally I don't listen to comms too much, but just what I'm hearing, it is good for sure. Team honestly sounds like they're calming as well, which is nice. Oh, and Cypher has a one-way. And unfortunately, you know, when you break that trip in a 2v5, you just kind of got to go, right? You got to just fly out. In this situation, Nacho just gets, you know, Cypher diffed, unfortunately. But a good first half and a lot of Nacho's value to the team in this first half was from his utility, not from his kills, which I think is very, very normal for Sentinels. All right, jumping into the second half now. Looks like I just actually watched, you guys can see it, but I watched Nacho set up a one-way. Looks like he's got a one-way set up here with that trip on, or the cage there, top right. And let's see what's going to happen here. So obviously we got a classic. We have one cage available. We have a low trip as well. So I'm assuming this is going to block their vision, and he's going to like kind of hope that they run through the trip at the bottom, and then they're kind of just a free kill. Let's see what happens. Ooh, that actually doesn't leave anything for them to be able to kind of see. So that is an interesting setup, especially with that gap there to the left. Let's see what's going to happen here, though. Omen fighting in garage. And we're repositioning here onto logs now. No camera available for another 20 seconds here. So we're just kind of, you know, waiting on info from our trips. We are down 3-4, and unfortunately that Sova has no health. I think in this situation, it would be really, really good if that Sage can communicate with the Sova about a heal, potentially, because in a pistol round especially, heals are extreme. That's the strongest they get. Like, there's no other round. And right here, we see what happens when you kind of are standing like a statue. Sometimes people could just kind of walk up on you, and just no time there to react. And unfortunately for Nacho, guy gets into cover before he can shoot and has info on where he is, repeaks, and kills him. All right, so unfortunately, after losing the pistol here, we are forced onto a save. And, you know, just again, another thing I want to talk about, right, with the whole idea of having impact on Sentinels is, you know, you watched Nacho get a 4-kill first half. That is unfortunately pretty typical for Sentinels. They're not going to get too many frags unless they're popping off. However, the team was still able to win 7 rounds. So I think that just goes to show how strong supporting your team can be when you do it well. And that's not to say that Nacho did it perfectly. Of course he didn't. You know, he missed a number of cages and had plenty of rounds where he could have done more. However, sometimes just doing even the bare minimum is all it takes to have some really successful halves in a game like Valorant. And in this situation, one thing that really helps Nacho is the trip placement for flanks and holding flanks. Instead of dedicating a player to do it, just use your trips. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways you can get. And right in this round, actually, you look at one of those trips catching the Reyna, and Nacho actually able to capitalize on that and get a kill there, which is pretty nice. All right, so the game is all tied up now. We're at 7-7 here, and we are buying rifles. But unfortunately, an early peek from Sage actually goes in favor of the enemy Sage. And there's a peek into, or there's early aggression into window. Yep, and here comes the peek. He'll probably push this, so I'm expecting... I'm a little surprised by that push there, just off of the other kills. I think generally people like to get aggressive off that stuff, but... One teammate is calling for a save right now. This is a 2v5. This round fell apart fast. Early deaths. And we now know where the Phoenix is. Again, I just think... Yeah, that was a good play. Moving up, I didn't want him to sit in the corner. He took kind of an off angle, which is perfect there. Just not worth sitting in corners, honestly. I really hate when people do that because a lot of times other players will check those corners and they're going to have a nice little advantage on you on that swing. And people always struggle to hit those shots. So let's move to the next round here. Okay, getting into round, I believe we're on round, what are we, 16 here. It is 8-7, so unfortunately the lead has gone to the enemy team. We're holding a little crossfire here, but the problem with this is garage is completely open. And the trip is actually not close enough. Yeah, there it is. Oh my gosh. Whew, sorry. The trip wasn't close enough in garage to actually stop anything. So Phoenix there, I'm not sure what happened with the communication, but Nacho has to pick up on that and be ready because that was a free kill on that Phoenix. But he just wasn't paying attention. You have to know where your trips are and where your teammates are at all times. Because if you think a trip is covering something and it's not, sometimes that's all it takes to lose like an entire round. Okay, so like, for example, in this round here, we've got 2 trips on the C site, nothing garage. So we know no matter what, garage isn't safe if a teammate isn't in there. But looking at the map, we've spotted 4 players off the rip here. 2 top A lobby, 1 alt mid, and 1 C long. So we know where 4 people are. That's very good. It's a lot of good info. And like most Sentinels do, we're just going to see some waiting here. And again, back to the topic at hand, how can you have impact on the Sentinel? Well, one way is to play off of your utility, right? That's what it's for. There's a reason there's a ton of like Cypher setups and Killjoy setup YouTube videos because they are useful and they work and people want to learn them. And I highly recommend anybody out there who plays these agents and you're looking to have more impact in your rounds, learning these setups, learning lineups, learning one ways, all that kind of stuff. Very useful, because what's going to happen is people like me, we don't take the time to learn all of this. So we're not going to know some of the maybe less common spots for trips and for cameras and things of that nature. So you can catch people off guard in a really nice way rather than, for example, just putting, you know, a trip right here where Nacho is walking, right? Which is super common, just tripping C long, you know? And I think that that is something that, you know, it cannot be understated the value of, is knowing setups and knowing how to use them when you're playing these Sentinels. Because one of the biggest changes to Cypher, right, that we've seen is the fact that he lost the ability to have his utility up after he's dead, which means no more trips. So it's super important to stay alive, which means it's even more important, obviously, to play off of those utilities and play smart so that you get value out of these kits. Otherwise, you're just playing an agent with no abilities, and what's the point of that? Oh, not really sure about this play, though. Kind of a lack of awareness here. I think that there was enough shooting, again, for Nacho to realize that he has to turn and he has to take this fight. And even though we didn't see him, it was on the mini map. So again, I think we just got to be a little bit quicker here from Nacho. I'm noticing a pattern of a kind of a lack of focus maybe on the mini map and on enemies popping up. Okay, round 18 here. Teammate called for someone to be garage. Nacho says he can use his camera in there, which is fine. And there he is checking it. So yeah, this is suitable. Nothing wrong with this. And actually, on what I believe was maybe a half buy here, the team is up 2 players. So now, when you are up 5-3, very, very important to play together. And if possible, to go for these weapons. That's something not enough people do. If you can go for these guns, you are in really good shape. This is something that you see all the time at the pro level, is that sometimes a round looks over. Oh, they're ecoing, you know, whatever. Boom, they get 1 kill. The eco team does, and suddenly like, oh, okay. Then they pick up the gun, and it's a rifle, and suddenly they're able to pass that rifle around to anybody who dies, and they're able to get kills off of it. And suddenly the round is like a 2v2 with 2 rifles versus 2 rifles, and it's just one of those things. You know, much like a game like League of Legends snowballs with, you know, maybe someone's just owning and farming and buying lots of items, and, you know, they're super strong. You can snowball in a game like Valorant as well when it comes to weapons and when it comes to economy, and that's something that can't be understated as well. But looking here, 5v3, looks like the enemy team has probably bunched up over towards A. I think that was a call as well. Ooh, looks like they were actually in mid, and now they're pushing through garage here. And this is probably the worst thing that could have happened. Just really, really sort of bad timing and just a lack of teamwork in that situation there. The flash came late, the peak was late, and then the Phoenix peaked on his own as well. There has to be trades when you're in those situations. Thankfully, time is on their side, and they pick up that round. So that was very, very close, though. Okay, so we're in round 19, and actually a complete change here in positions. I will say that was kind of a late camera, which gives the other team a lot of info. If that camera was up earlier, you could even help the teammate, but now we're just kind of in this weird spot where I think we're alone. We've got our trip though, at least, which is useful. Phoenix has pushed up really far, and yeah, this round is looking quite over. 2v5. Depending on the economy here, it looks like Nacho actually has 0 credits, so the best bet here is to save, unfortunately, but we'll move on to the next round nonetheless. And unfortunately there, Nacho was unable to save the weapon. So, you know, we're round off match point here, and we are just holding with a sheriff. So let's see what the plan is. Like I've been saying, though, you know, super, super important to be able to trade in these rounds, and it looks like maybe some players are just getting a little bit too antsy. But Sova actually takes a nice shot there. He's fighting the Reyna. I think there could be a peek here. I think... Ooh. Maybe a little bit too slow. I'm talking, you know, half a second there. Potentially is able to get the angle onto that Reyna. Looks like he's just trying to make some noise here. And walks across and gets headshotted by the Sage. A nice shot from her there. And here we are on match point 8-12. We started off really well. A 7-5 half, I believe, is now gone into an 8-12. Just sort of a complete blunder of a really nice lead. But let's see. Looks like aggression, C long. No peak so far though. No info. And here's the info. Yep. Take 1 fight. That was a good first fight.
114 on Cypher.
But now, yeah, you got to know he can be over here pushing you. And with Spectre, we want to use the movement here. I want to see him turn this corner fast. Oh, and right there, just like that, I think had he kept running, he actually wins that fight, which is something so many people struggle with. Because they're so locked into trying to stop and shoot for rifles, they forget to do it for the SMGs. And right there, had Nacho kept running wide to his left to the logs, that Reyna probably can't hit that op shot. My main takeaways from watching this, first and foremost, is Nacho does a really nice job on attack of protecting flanks with his abilities. That was really smart. But one thing I noticed is he does seem to lack a little awareness when it comes to the mini-map. That's definitely something he's going to work on and try to pay more attention to. On top of that, I also want to see him, if he's going to lurk, to be a bit more aggressive on the lurks and actually look for picks and look to cut off rotates instead of just kind of being in those areas and playing defensively. I do think something we are seeing from Nacho is just being a little bit too passive in his Cypher play, which is going to lead to games like this where, yes, you you know, your team is doing pretty well, but you're not having quite the impact you probably could. And despite having good utility, at the end of the day, we do have to hit our shots. We do have to take some smart fights. Now, I didn't see anything from this that would indicate to me that Nacho's aim is horrible and he shouldn't take fights at all. I just didn't see him take that many fights, which I think is really indicative of the fact that he is playing an ultra passive Cypher. And then on defense, it kind of confirmed that when we saw, you know, sitting behind walls and using the camera and just playing off of our utility, which once again isn't a terrible thing. I just think that at some point we have to add a little spice into the mix to look to make some plays and have some impact on some of these rounds, because, you know, like we saw, almost every kill, pretty much every single kill we saw Nacho get was not an impact frag. And that is something we definitely want to change, especially when we're looking at defense where we didn't win a single round. And when you're playing something like Cypher, that's kind of your forte. That's your specialty, right? Playing on defense and using those trips, and we weren't able to really get anything. So it might be time to go back to the drawing board a bit here for Nacho as well. Look at some more setups and some lineups for himself to use to maybe get some one-ways and I guess some nice trips. Because right now, it's just not kind of getting that value I think we need. Or potentially, he should have switched sites sooner, you know, to go to A or something as well. Of course, that is always an option. But overall, I think a pretty decent game. It's just that I think a little bit too passive play led to this kind of falling apart, especially on defense, where there's a lot of first picks, and which made you guys play even more defensive. And I think that that was probably the worst case scenario. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that was useful. And if it was, hey, hope to see you next time. Take it easy, though, and peace.